On today's DNVR Broncos podcast, we are mapping out the perfect offseason for the Broncos. Free agency is less than a month away. Who do the Broncos sign? Who do they draft? And do they make any trades? We're all breaking it down starting now. We're dreaming today on the DNVR Broncos podcast, building the perfect offseason, and we're dreaming inside the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores, inside the DNVR Bar, where I've got Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis to my left, Henry Chisholm to my right. We got Dion and you here behind the camera, and Zach Stevens rocking and rolling with you on the DNVR Broncos podcast. Fellas, how we doing today?
Feeling great. Second pod of the day.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, stay tuned for we're dropping a little bonus mini pod on YouTube later. So if you watch on YouTube, make sure to check our video section on YouTube. If you listen on the podcast side, make sure to go check out that one. It was a fun conversation today.
Yes. Very similar to the conversation from a couple days ago. Which
but different. Similar but different.
Similar but different.
Yeah. Worth a listen.
Worth a listen.
Oh my goodness. Is this the first time that a non-Rockies show has had two Rockies hats on set?
And there's a reason. It's a big day for the Rockies today, which is
that we're wearing the hats.
Honestly, that would make it a big day for the Rockies.
Yeah, no, pitchers and catchers showing up for spring training today.
No way.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, next Friday is the first spring training game. I'm hyped.
So yours was intentional? Your hat choice today was intentional?
No, he has a rotation of hats.
Exactly. I just kind of go right through. There's like 7 of them, 6 of them.
Wow, I just can't believe we got two Rockies hats on set. Right? Isn't that like their spring training logo too?
Yeah.
Is there a spring training logo?
Yeah. They use like the alternate instead of the. Yeah.
You knew. Don't lie to us.
100%.
You knew.
Who's your favorite Rocky?
Rocky Balboa.
Oh, that's a good answer.
You were on fire with these quick answers.
He's killing it. Yeah.
I thought he was going to say Charlie Blackmon, and I guess he's a Rocky still.
He is. He's now
he's
special
back.
assistant to somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have hired somebody who has no idea what they're talking about. I'm not sure Charlie's qualified. He could do the job just as well as whoever else they would have chosen.
Yeah, it's probably very
Just
true.
said Ryan McMahon.
Yeah, that would have been a real one. Yeah.
Because like my best friend, one of my best friends, his name is Ryan McMahon, and they're both from California. So growing up his whole life, everybody thought that he was Ryan McMahon. He's like, no, I'm not that Ryan.
I'm the other Ryan McMahon.
Yeah,
Could he
they're
be
from
that?
the same city.
Like,
too.
is he built like that?
He played football at USC. Plays football at Sac State. So he's built. Yeah.
Okay.
Did he go from Sac State to USC or USC to Sac State?
Yeah, the right one.
USC to Sac State?
No.
Oh,
Yes.
So he upgraded going from USC to Sac State.
For
Is
sure.
what you're saying?
For
Yeah. Oh wow, that's pretty fun. Spelled the same way?
The exact same. Everything's the same.
When the Broncos hired Tom McMahon, I know it's not the same as
Ryan
McMahon. I know it's not spelled the same, but when the Broncos hired Tom McMahon,
isn't it?
I don't think so. I think.
Let's see.
Yeah, you fact check that. But Ryan Koenigsberg and I did a show, and I opened it up, and this was before we did YouTube, so it wasn't live. It was pre-recorded. And I said, the Broncos' new special teams coordinator, Tom McMahon.
Yeah.
And he just started laughing and was like, we got to start that over. You can't have that in there.
It is spelled the same.
Oh, it is spelled the same.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought his was longer for some reason.
No.
But makes sense.
No. Maybe you just read it first, so it took you longer the first time, so it just kind of.
I mean, it is. It
Stuck
does
in
look
there.
like McMahon.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Irish, though. So. Yeah.
It sounds Hawaiian.
Make my home.
So yeah, I don't even know how we got here. Oh, Rockies. Yeah,
I'm so excited
I
for the
didn't
Rockies.
get the hat memo as John in the Twitter chat is
You don't really
pointing
wear
out
hats,
here.
though.
No, I don't
No.
wear hats.
I've never seen you with a hat.
I've tried maybe 3 days of my life. It feels wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow.
Just looks weird on me.
Interesting.
Looks good on you guys, but just not
Thank
on
you.
me. Your here's always wearing a hat.
Always.
What do you look like without a hat? Take that hat off.
looks the same.
Yeah, okay, same. Yeah. Before we dive into today's conversation, Angel T in the Toyota chat says, brings up a really good question. Says, who did Hank watch in the shower today?
Wow.
I was listening to a podcast about the bird flu.
That turned
It
dark.
was, yeah. It was a little dark. Because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, bird flu for birds. But then next thing you know, it's in the cows and then in the cats, and the cats are dying. And now, whatever, 69 people have it, and one of them died. And
Wow.
yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll watch something happier.
I guess it's good
Samuel.
that was a podcast and not a video.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause that would be...
But apparently, even like some of the people who didn't die, it's like, yeah, didn't die, but like he was bleeding from his eyes.
Oh, jeez.
And it's like, oh, well.
My goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough.
I thought we were dreaming
Somebody
today,
asked,
and I
and
guess we're...
Tomorrow
yeah.
I'll watch something better.
Okay,
I've
good.
listened to something better. I'm usually not watching.
We want we want an update tomorrow on something happy, because today we're dreaming, and we're dreaming not about showers. We're dreaming about the perfect offseason for the Broncos, from free agency to the draft to trades, to maybe even coaching hires. And who wants to start here? What we did is we all came with our perfect offseason plan for the Broncos. We're each going to break ours down. We're going to talk about it. We're going to debate them. And then at the end of the show, we're going to put together the best parts of all of ours and build the perfect one for the Broncos. So if you're joining us in the Toyota chat, make sure to drop your perfect offseason. Who's your perfect free agent signing? Who's your perfect draft pick for the Broncos? And who's your perfect trade for the Broncos? Let us know. And Todd, do you want to give us your perfect offseason first?
Yes, I'll start off the game. I kind of went with I thought it was a good one, but you guys may think it's crazy. So first thing is free agency.
Okay.
And the Broncos should sign Nick Chubb in free agency.
Okay.
Wow.
We all know he had a horrific injury. He was bouncing back. He only averaged 3.3 yards per attempt last year, but before that it was 6.15, 5.5, 5.6.
Yeah.
I think he's top 5 all-time in yards per carry as a running back. He was coming back from an injury, so I think he still has more juice left in him, and I think that, he's not done yet. So I think that should be their first move.
Okay. I could get behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Power
think,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's somebody who, I think you need a free agent running back. You need to draft somebody. If you want to draft somebody good, if you really like this draft class, don't spend all your money on the free agent running back.
Yep.
You get them cheap. If it works, then you've got an all-pro. More likely that doesn't happen, but we'll give it a run.
And I don't think you have to pay top dollar for
No.
Nick Chubb right now.
I have
But
to imagine
I
it's like,
still think he's worth it.
what's the price? Is it...
So it's crazy how many running backs get the veteran minimum.
Yeah.
It is pretty crazy. And that's why, even Javonte, probably is right there, maybe a little bit more. Because it's Nick Chubb, I would imagine it's more like $3 million.
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. But
For
Which
1
is a
year,
steal.
right?
yeah.
Which is a steal.
Which could be a steal.
I guarantee it.
I do
Oh,
it. And,
okay.
and I really like that. Now, the first thing that pops in my head is aren't you just getting Javonte Williams? Because Javonte had a similar, incredibly bad knee injury, just like Nick Chubb did. They were both just awful. And we saw how Javonte, he bounced back, but he was not back to his normal self. And you just ask how much of Nick Chubb are you getting? And if you're getting 80%, that's a fantastic deal. If you're
Yep.
getting 20%, okay, yeah, you probably shouldn't sign him. But if it's 1 year, $3 million, I love that. Especially then you don't have to go out and trade up for Ashton Genty. It covers you a little bit. So Todd, I'm for it. I'm for it. You're not crazy.
You got to think about it. He's going to be running behind a much better O-line. He's going to have another year under his belt with his knee getting back healthy. He's not going to be the only player they have on offense, so hopefully they don't just get to load the box and have, 8 people trying to tackle him every time he runs the ball. I feel like he'll have more opportunities to make big plays here in Denver and be successful.
He's 29 years old, so this isn't a signing to be your long-term running back, but
No.
29, it's not like he's 31.
Yep.
And running backs, they say, once you hit 30, you're done? At least 1 year, and you're only paying him 1 year, $3 million? I'm in.
All right, my next.
This is good so far, Todd.
Not bad. My next thing that the Broncos should do is swap first rounds and then also trade a second next year with the 49ers to get Tyler Warren.
So you're going from 20 to 11
Yes.
to get Tyler Warren.
And the only team that was possibly could snag him before that would be the Saints. So you would have to wait for the Saints to draft and then do the jump.
So the 49ers pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're interested in moving back. But they say, we want this year's second, not next year's second. And it's a done deal. Would you do it?
I can't do that because I have a plan for this year's second.
Oh, okay. Okay, I like that. So in this dream world, they take that offer. I like it.
Next year's second, yeah, they'll take it.
I like it. So they pick up another second. Okay.
And they're only going back 9 spots.
You've got Nick Chubb and Tyler Warren so far.
And they're like their needs are like corners and safeties. Like they're there at 20.
Yep.
You don't need to draft them at 11.
Yep.
With the second round pick, we're going to take Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. That could be our potential boom running back along with Nick Chubb. And there's a lot of upside to him. And so I think that'll be a good pick for the Broncos if they were choose to. So we have Nick Chubb, Travion Henderson, and Tyler Warren. Those will be the 3 new pieces on our offense.
This is a pretty damn good dream.
Not too bad.
Off-season, right? I like where you're going. And that, honestly, like Henry said, when you sign Nick Chubb, there's got to be another move, but it doesn't have to be in the first round at running back.
Yep.
And so getting Travion Henderson, I love that so much.
And I think he'll be there in the second round. I don't think he's a day one guy. But I think he's very talented.
Is there a chance he falls to round 3?
There's a chance. I mean, there's just so many of those guys.
Yeah.
Like, for a while, it was like, Marion Hampton's the clear number 2. Like, he could be a first-round pick, and now all of a sudden it's Travion Henderson who's up there. And what's next? I mean, like, the combine is in a couple weeks. Travion runs slow, and somebody else runs fast. It'll all jumble up.
Yeah.
He's supposed to run a 4.35 though.
Yeah.
He's supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fun
to see.
Man, just adding that dynamic because he's fast, but he's not like a tiny
Exactly.
guy. Where
he's still 208. He's still a solid guy.
Yeah.
Oh man, and that's why if he does run a 4.35, then you probably do have to use your second round pick. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps into like the 30th pick or something in the draft.
Yeah.
So I love
Very
it.
true.
I love it.
All right. Last thing, we didn't address, the linebacker D tackle situation. So in the 3rd round, we take a linebacker. In the 4th round, we take a D tackle.
Yep.
And that's what we're gonna do to shore up our defense. Because I mean, 3rd round linebacker, that's like getting a 1st round player.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the linebackers in the 3rd round usually are pretty dang good and pretty solid. So, that's a pretty high pick for a linebacker.
And then with the defensive line in the 4th round, are you thinking a big guy or an end?
A big guy.
A big guy? Well, then to your point about inside linebackers having that value, a big guy, that's like getting a guy in the 2nd round.
Exactly.
If you're using a 4th round pick on him. So you're using the value spots to get really good values there. I like that.
Yep.
I like that.
Well, that's all I had.
Wow.
So is the inside linebacker starter this year? The 3rd round pick?
Potential. I think there's, a way we could sign back Cody. I don't think he would be like too expensive, but I think that between him and the linebacker, you kind of make them, battle out for the position and see, along with Drew Sanders, see how healthy he is and if he can perform. So I think there's a lot of competition there for that second linebacker spot because we are signing Alex Singleton back in my plan. So.
And how about Drew? Alex telling us last week at the Super Bowl, he's like, oh no, Drew's back at inside linebacker. Like, no question about it. Now he was like, well, maybe he's not, but right now. So it seems like the end of season meetings, it was like, Drew, practice like you're going to be an inside linebacker this year.
He gets moved around so much.
He does.
Too
So
much.
it's hard to just like put the stamp on it and know for sure. So we
Yep.
won't know until we see him at practice, midway through camp and like, okay, he's either inside or outside.
Yep.
Henry, let's dive into your plan after I give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365. We're over at Bet365. They're all about never ordinary. That's their slogan there. And so you might be able to, at some point, get odds on what position Drew Sanders is going to play. Inside linebacker, outside linebacker, hybrid, where he's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Bet365 puts those odds up because they have so many different bets. I mean, they had, I think, thousands of bets that you could bet on the Super Bowl. And if you bet on the Eagles in any form or fashion, boy, are you feeling good a couple days after the Super Bowl. And if you want to feel good over at Bet365, they're going to hook you up with $100 in bonus bets. Place a $5 bet after depositing $10 when you use the code DNVR365, and you're going to get $100 in bonus bets in your account. That's code DNVR365 over at Bet365 to get $100 in bonus bets, win or lose, after you place a $5 bet with depositing $10. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
Also, shout out to our friends over at Lucy. We all love Lucy around here. Seems like everywhere you go, it's just Lucy. Yeah, exactly, Todd. That's exactly it. Let's see. Jake, always with Lucy.
Yeah.
Yaya, always with the Lucy.
Yeah, I think one's falling out of his mouth right now.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Looks like there's one in there. I can see
Spencer,
it.
I think, is Lucy.
Oh, is that who they
Yeah,
named it after?
yeah.
He is Lucy.
Yeah.
Lucy could be right for you. It's 100% pure nicotine. It's always tobacco free. So if you enjoy nicotine or you're trying to get away from smoking or chewing tobacco, Lucy could be a great option. All sorts of different flavors, of course, all sorts of different strengths. So you can really find what is best for you. And if you want to level up your nicotine routine with Lucy, you can go to lucy.co/DNVR, use the promo code DNVR, get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co, use code DNVR to get 20% off. Here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
And Todd, the Toyota chat, really enjoying your perfect off season, liking it a lot. Let's see, Henry, if you can top the perfect off season for the Broncos. And if you're tuning in, let us know what you would do in the off season, and also hit us with a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. And Henry, I gotta ask, the Toyota chat is asking, Ivan says, is your plan to sign Joe Flacco?
Oh boy, no. No. Unless he's cheap though. I will say that's kind of the first decision. I mean, Jarrett Stidham, what? Gets $5 million a year. Did on the last contract, 2 years, $10 million. Zach Wilson, I would imagine, is like $7.5 million this year. So again, because you look at like Darnold got $10 million.
Right.
He's probably isn't seen as Darnold was a year ago. If you wanted to just go get Flacco for like $2.5 million, I wouldn't be against it. And maybe Stidham gets less than the $5 million. Maybe that market price has gone down a bit.
The last time Flacco was here, the Broncos had a young quarterback in Drew Lock. And Flacco said, my job is not to mentor the guy.
Yeah.
I just can't get by that.
At the time, it wasn't, though. At the time, his job was to go win football games for them. And then,
I guess if he's totally changed.
If you say, hey, Joe, will you accept this job, and your job is to mentor this guy, you might get a little bit different answer.
Fair.
I mean, I love Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. What are they going to teach him?
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, Joe Flacco might be his friend
dad?
too. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and bang the table for Joe Flacco because that would just be insane. But if he's cheap and you don't want to spend money at backup quarterback, I could get down for that.
Really quick, speaking of backup quarterbacks, since you mentioned Zach Wilson to the Jets, $7.5 million to go back to New York.
I don't think they'd do that.
Be the Sam Darnold? No,
I don't think anybody's interested.
You think it's like the Vic Fangio, like too soon?
But worse, yeah. Much worse.
Wow.
Imagine Jets fans seeing Zach Wilson coming back. Remember how mad Broncos fans were when they traded for Zach Wilson? They had a full-on meltdown. It's like, oh, you can't be adding Zach Wilson. Like, this is dude, blah, 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 blah. And at that point, they have Bo Nix or whatever.
Maybe they'll be happier to see him after they saw how the Aaron Rodgers experiment went, though.
No, they won't be happy to see him.
Okay,
they won't be happy. And he won't be happy to go back.
Wow.
Like, it's just a lose-lose.
Okay, so it's a no-go.
It's an absolute no-go.
Okay, I'll let you dive in to your plan.
Okay. So, yeah, you go a little bit cheaper at backup quarterback. Probably just bring Stidham back. Big stuff. DJ Jones, you bring him back. You hope. Like, I don't think he's getting $10 million a year again this time. I think the Broncos probably had to overpay just a little bit. But it sucks, though, because he was like a 3 technique for the most part when he was playing in San Francisco. And that's just a position that gets paid better than a nose tackle does. So here he's playing a lot more nose, just like true interior type stuff. And I think he kind of got screwed by that. He was very good and productive, but it just isn't worth $10 million. So I think the Broncos will get him back for a little bit cheaper. I'm letting...
Wait, what are we thinking on DJ? What's the contract?
I was guessing 2 years and $18 million, and I think even that is a little bit high, if anything.
Okay.
But
first year fully guaranteed, second year only tiny bit.
I would say mostly guaranteed.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm curious how it go.
I do think that would get it done from DJ's side.
Definitely. Free agency, Chris Godwin's the big one. I think you give him 3 years at $20 million a year. That's just a really, really good football player who's done it consistently, and he catches the ball on the run and keeps running. I think he would really open things up. He can play from the slot. He can play from the outside. Bobby Wagner.
Wait, really quick on Chris Godwin. I mean, outside of last year, he has like 3 or 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons or something. Like the production's there, the talent's there. I just wonder. And Todd, you probably have a better idea. Is he 28 years old, Henry?
28, yes.
Do you think he's looking for a 1-year prove-it deal to then get one more big payday of like maybe 25, 30 million a year if he performs in this? Or do you think he would want the 3 years, 60 million, 40 million guaranteed right up front?
I don't know if anybody's ever looking for a prove-it deal, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, even when you have more in the tank, I think you would always choose to have like security and guaranteed money over like, because what happens if he gets injured next year? Now he gets nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So I think most guys, whenever there's an option to have money for multiple years, you take it.
Especially when it's 40 million guaranteed or
For
something
sure.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that. Chris Godwin. Who would be the one? Would it'd be him?
Probably still Court.
Court?
I mean, just by role. Like, that's just the role Court plays in the offense. Yeah. Bobby Wagner. Again, he just keeps playing. And I every year you think like he's going to get worse, but he was an all-pro again this year. Like, he was still one of the best linebackers alive, and he's 35 or whatever, but he keeps taking these 1-year, $8 million deals. It's time for the Broncos to jump on that train and just sign him up for a year, because you get him and Singleton. That's just awesome. Like, that's how you build an incredible front seven. You run it back with the front five that was awesome last year. Those 2-year linebackers who I think I was impressed by what Cody Barton and Justin Sternad did last year. You're upgrading at both those spots, though, if it's Bobby Wagner and Alex Singleton next year. And then because
really quick, at what point will Bobby Wagner eventually fall off? Because I think the Seahawks let him go because they're like, we think you're falling off.
Yeah.
And then didn't he go to
The Rams.
Yeah, the Rams.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, you're gonna fall off, so we're gonna cut you to save money. And then didn't he go back to the Seahawks? And then
Is that what it was? Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, that 1 year was good, but you're gonna fall off. And then he went to the Commanders, and now
was
he's
the best part of their defense that went to the I mean, there's a chance it doesn't work out, and if that's the case, then you go back to that penny front. You say, Drew Sanders, hope you're looking good. Justin Sternad, you played well last year. But I think that's the kind of gamble for low money that can just elevate a defense.
Similar to last year, one year, $8 million.
Yeah,
From what
I
he
just
got.
guess.
Todd, what's allowed him to play such a high level even at 35 years old?
Well, honestly, I think he's a talented player, but he continues to have like the same coaching staff and scheme, like no matter where he goes. So if he's going to come, I think Ken Norton Jr., who's been his linebacker coach and mentor since he was started at the Seahawks, I think we would have to have him as a linebacker coach in order for him to come here. I don't think he just – because I think there will probably be some opportunity for him back in Washington. And
you would imagine.
Ken Norton's there. There's no reason to leave there.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be a package deal more so than just being able to pull Bobby Wagner away.
Yep, that makes sense. That's probably what it comes down to. Like, I think anybody would want Bobby Wagner on that deal, and you just have to hope he chooses you.
Yeah.
But again, he's probably going back to the Commanders, you would think. And then a couple little moves. Ty Johnson, the Bills running back, can catch the ball out of the backfield, do some of that sort of stuff. Austin Hooper, who's still just a good football player, cheap.
Yeah.
Had almost 500 yards last year as the number 2 tight end in New England, of all places. So yeah, I think that just raises your floor a little bit. And then in the draft, Ashton Genty, second round, one of those tight ends.
Ashton Genty at 20?
That's what I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yep. That's dream off season.
It's a
dream
dream.
off season. You're getting him at 20. Second round, you look at like Harold Fannin or Elijah Arroyo or Mason Taylor, one of those tight ends. I don't know. We'll go with Arroyo because that's who our guy Fran sold us on yesterday. Then third round, you go get Xavier Watts at safety.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And you do all that without going too far into debt.
Yeah, I mean, how much are you spending in free agency there?
This year, less than 35 million. Less than 30.
Yeah.
Less than 30. Certainly less than 30.
Yeah, that's pretty darn good. And so you're going young at tight end and running back. Todd's going young at both of those positions. You're just getting you're both getting some depth at both of the positions in free agency as well. Any trades that you're considering making?
Not really.
No.
Todd,
what do you think of Henry's plan?
I think it's solid. I think it's definitely a little bit of a dream, though. But
yep, it is a dream. More of a dream, Bobby Wagner signing with the Broncos on like the same number, or Ashton Jeanty falling to 20.
Ashton Jeanty falling to 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'd say Bobby Wagner.
I think it is too.
I think it's Bobby Wagner coming here.
You think so?
Yeah. If he's going to continue to play, which it seems like he is going to, why would he leave the Commanders?
No, there's no reason to. I mean,
that's the tough part.
Good defense. I mean, you're playing with the rookie of the year. You guys were just in the semifinals, right?
Yep.
Quarterfinals. They're in a good spot as an organization. Like, there's no reason to leave that, especially late in your career. Like, you don't want to go anywhere and rebuild. Not saying the Broncos are rebuilding per se, but it just seems like Washington's like ready to take that next step.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he got $6.5 million from the Commanders last year, $5.5 million from the Seahawks the year before. You give him $8 million, maybe that's enough.
Sure, maybe that's what lures him.
Maybe.
I like that. So when it comes to Ashton Jeanty, Todd, because I agree with you, like I don't think realistically he's going to fall to the Broncos at 20. But then I look at these mock drafts, and I just put an article up compiling all of the top mock drafts, the top mock draft people in the country over at thednvr.com, looking at who's taken who to kind of get a sense of what's happening. Ashton Jeanty, I think I looked at 12 or 13 mock drafts, and in 5 of them, Ashton Jeanty's fallen to the Broncos at 20.
Yep.
And so that's opening my eyes like, maybe just the NFL still doesn't value running backs, even though we saw how valuable a Saquon Barkley can be. Maybe the NFL is still just going to sleep on running backs, and I think that big one that we pointed out yesterday is the Cowboys, and Jerry Jones seemingly has like totally lost it. And even though it makes so much sense for them to go get Ashton Jeanty, maybe he just says, no, we've already done it with Zeke, and it didn't win us a Super Bowl, so we're not doing it again. So I don't know if I'm just dreaming, hoping, or maybe it is realistic that the NFL is truly just not valuing running backs, and he could fall to 20.
It's realistic right now, but that's just the way all this goes. It's like he's a top 3, top 5 pick, and that's like, oh, he's there at 20, and then you just go up and down over the course of like the 4 months. And that's where like Tyler Warren is at his peak right now, where it's like he could be the number 5 pick in the draft, and then 3 weeks from now will be like, I don't know, Colston Loveland, only 20, so much room to grow. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, that's fair. You think that'll happen? You think there's a point where Colston Loveland potentially takes over Tyler Warren?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just like, what was the crazy thing? Oh, there was one of those. Oh, it was Ashton Jeanty. I remember in December, maybe it was when you were gone, talking to Todd, though, and that was one of the things I said was, there's going to come a time when people are going to say Ashton Jeanty is going to be there at 20. And then 3 weeks later, it's like, oh, Ashton Jeanty, he's going to be there at 20. And that's just, it all goes up and down and up and down. And then draft day, it settles where it settles.
Yeah.
And then everybody on draft day says, you're crazy for taking him there. It's like, well, a month ago, you would have said this is normal. And 3 months ago, you would have said so. But yeah, it's just a roller coaster.
No, that's very fair. And as Sean Payton would say, it's the NFL train that we're riding right now. And speaking of trains, I want to give a shout out to one of our friends over at, not the train shop, over at another place you can get around. Toyota is where you can get around. Look, trains, planes, and automobiles, the one that you're in most of the time is an automobile, and Toyota is the automobile that you want. And you can visit one of your Front Range Toyota stores to get one, and they have so many different types of cars that you can get. Right now, we're dealing with snow, we're dealing with cold, so that makes you think like, man, I want something with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the 4Runner, like the Land Cruiser. They've got 17 different models over at Toyota with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. They've also got trucks, the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. They've got hybrids along with the truck. They've got so many other hybrids that you can get. Toyota 2024 Tacoma, My favorite, the Land Cruiser right now. And if you want to get your hands on one of these Toyotas, go check out a Front Range Toyota store at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
Let's go. And shout out to our friends over at Coors Light. You guys know we love Coors Light here. We keep it on set every single day, and we definitely enjoy it when we have some free time. And if you want to choose chill and embrace a chill mindset, check out our friends over at Coors Light. When the mountains turn blue, it is as cold as the Rocky. Coors Light is cold lager, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When you embrace the chill mindset, it is a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. Coors Light is mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Rockies. Choose chill this winter and reach for a Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/DNVR, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
All right, let's start grading these. Let's give, in the Twitter chat, give grades to Todd for his, give grades to Henry for his, and you can give a grade to me for mine now, because I'm going to dish out my plan for the Broncos offseason. And we're going to start at a place that you guys didn't. We're going to start with coaching. The Broncos, it's the obvious one, but just to make sure that the offseason goes as planned, need to hire Darren Rizzi. Need to make sure that that happens. I think you guys just expect it to happen, which is totally fair, but I just want to make sure we're putting it out there. He's a top 5, top 10, maybe the best special teams coordinator
Nobody
in
knows.
the NFL. He's a good one, though. He consistently has had the Saints in the special teams rankings as like a top 5 group over the past couple of years. Did the one for this past year ever come out?
I don't know.
Because I know last time we talked about it hadn't come out, but the one the year before, Darren Rizzi had that group as, I think, top 5. Well, I know it's a top 5 group. I'm not sure if it's even better than that, though. So you need to hire Darren Rizzi. You need to hire Todd Davis, but please don't. Please don't. We want him to stay with us. And you need to keep Davis Webb. Now, it really looks like that's going to be the case. We've got the official report that the Broncos are keeping Jim Leonard, and we haven't got the official report that they are keeping Davis Webb, but it very much looks like that. But now the Saints staff is starting to come into place. If there's anyone who's maybe given good recommendations from Davis Webb, it would be Sean Payton to his best friend Mickey Loomis out in New Orleans. So in the next couple days, just make sure that you hang on to Davis Webb. Pay him way too much money to be your quarterback's coach, and the Broncos can afford that because they have the Walton Penners, but you don't want to lose Davis Webb. You might lose Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham. You don't want to lose everyone in that quarterback room, so keep Davis Webb. That's what I'm doing from the coaching perspective. Now free agency and trades come around, and I've got a trade to propose. And you guys can tell me if I can't do it, and then I'll go in a different direction. I'm calling the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm asking about George Kittle. And I'm offering, he's 32 years old, or he's going to be 32 this year, so he's old. I'm offering a second-round pick for George Kittle. Can we get that deal done?
I don't know if they're doing that. You think they're doing that, Hank?
I don't know. I'm trying to see.
Let me remind you,
how
San
the money
Francisco, he's
splits.
32 years old. He's old.
He is old.
You're going to have to pay Brock Purdy soon. There was the
Maybe
guy
not.
from Over the Cap said they think Brock Purdy's going to get $60 million a year. You can't pay everyone on your team like you're doing right now. You got to get rid of just a second-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, if they take Tyler Warren at 11, that makes sense for him.
That's true.
Wow. A way to keep the tight end position group good and go cheaper. I didn't even think about that.
The Broncos would have to pay him $14.4 million, and this would be the last year. So that's not bad at all. It'd be kind of cheap.
For a second,
I don't think they'd do it, but I'll let you do it.
Okay,
it's close enough.
You're letting me get away with it. Okay, I wouldn't want to do it for a first-round pick, not for a 32-year-old.
Yeah, and that's probably what it would take.
Yeah, and also like the 49ers. I know this is kind of a dream. That's why I'm including it in the dream one. But the 49ers are in win now mode. If anything, like they're going to pay Brock Purdy potentially this year, and then that cap hit's probably not going to kick in for a year or two. And then they've got Trent Williams, who's aging. They've got Christian McCaffrey, who's aging. They've got Deebo Samuel. Well, maybe they don't have Deebo. They've got George Kittle, who's aging. Nick Bosa's getting up there. Fred Warner. So they have a lot of pieces that are built to win now. I wouldn't really think that they'd move on from one of those key pieces, but if it is to save money in order to pay Brock Purdy, maybe that's how you're able to get this done. So that's what I'm doing. If to start off, I'm getting George Kittle. I'm feeling damn good about my tight end position. And Sean Payton, there you go. There's one of the best jokers in the NFL for you right there. If not...
For a year or two. Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
go ahead. Finish your thought. My bad.
2 or 3 years,
bad.
and
Go
then
ahead.
you have to pay Bo, so you're not going to be able to afford him anyways. If not, so that's my plan. But
Okay.
my backup plan, I'm calling the Raiders about Michael Mayer, because are they going to keep him? He's done nothing the first 2 years because he's been buried behind Brock Bowers, a talented former second-round pick. And then I'm calling the Ravens about Mark Andrews, seeing if they're willing to move on from him. It seems like they are willing to move on from him. He's not as good as George Kittle, but, I mean, talk about he's probably not a joker either, but he is a receiving safety blanket for Bo Nix right there. And Evan Ingram might be available, so maybe call on him as well. But I already got that tight end position figured out. There's also Mike Gesicki and Zach Ertz in free agency if all of those things fail, but I'm getting a tight end. And if I can, I'm getting the elite tight end with George Kittle. In free agency, I need a defensive lineman. And I don't really care how old they are because I just want someone that can come and play for a year or two. So I'm calling Mickey Loomis, and I'm asking about Cam Jordan. And I'm seeing if Sean Payton can be reunited with Cam Jordan. Look, Mickey, just do this for Cam. He doesn't want to go through this rebuild that you're doing and you're still doing. Let him come to Denver for a year. He can retire, go back to New Orleans and retire as Saint, but let him come here. I think he's got one more year of fine ball left in him.
I think he does too, but the only problem is that he plays what Zach Allen plays and what JFN plays. He doesn't play what DJ Jones plays.
No, you're right.
So you're getting rid of the $10 million man, but then you're filling another position.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's depth on the defensive line.
Yeah.
So I've got a plan for that big spot.
Okay.
I am, speaking of, this is the time to say that I am letting DJ Jones walk. I think he's a really good player, and I think if the Broncos brought him back, that would be a good deal. But I want to spend money in other places right now. You can also call the Saints about Kalen Saunders, another defensive lineman. Now, he's more of a bigger guy that could fill that role. And if not, there's a couple of defensive linemen that are out there. Milton Williams, Eagles just came off a really good season, and he might actually get paid a ton. I'm not looking to pay another defensive lineman a ton, especially because I might be re-upping with Zach Allen next year and JFM as well. They're both, well, at least JFM's on the final year of his deal. Calais Campbell, I'm always giving Calais Campbell a call. 10 years ago, I'm giving Calais Campbell a call. I'm still giving Calais Campbell a call. And maybe this is the time you can convince him to come to Denver. Maybe it's finally time for him to come home because the Broncos have some hope.
Do you think he could play DJ Jones's role? He's so big. Like, it's not as fit, but...
I mean, what year is this for him?
Oh,
he's 37?
This is like 15, like, I don't think he wants to play that
That's
role.
exactly,
You know
that's
what
the
I'm
tough
saying?
part.
Yeah, he wants
You're
to
not
play
selling
outside.
him on it.
Yeah,
Zach
because
Allen.
then he's just sitting, taking double teams all day long and hitting 600 pounds. Yeah. Nobody wants to do that.
Definitely
Yeah,
not.
there just aren't a lot of those guys out there, which is why I went back to DJ Jones. It's like BJ Hill with like the Bengals can kind of. The list is so small in terms of guys who are good at it.
Haloti.
Yeah, back in the day, my parents went to dinner with him once.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yes, won it at no. So there used to be this thing where they bring a bunch of NFL players up to where I grew up, and they do like a celebrity basketball game or stuff like that. And they'd all get like a vacation out of it. But there was like some booster dinner. It's like you pay enough, you get to go out to dinner with one of them. Haloti was theirs.
And your parents got the dinner?
Yeah.
Can't hide money. You can't hide it, baby.
So true. So true.
Shout out to Dean.
So true.
How much did he eat?
You'd have to ask them. I mean, I would have been like 9 at the time.
So an active NFL player that weighs like 330 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bet he put it down.
I would imagine.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Wasn't even trying with that one, I promise. I still don't even get the connection.
Also, Jeremy Shockey was 28 when the Saints traded for him. Cost a second and a fifth.
Okay.
He was a month away from turning 29.
Okay.
So second might not be unreasonable.
Okay. I'll do second
Also,
and a
this
fourth.
was 2 decades ago.
I'll do
but
a
yeah.
second and a fourth for George.
Okay. But Kittle's 3-4 years older.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. That's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah. So I'm getting a defensive lineman. It's okay that it's a veteran. I'm not giving them a ton of money, doing it affordable, and it's either a trade for Cam Jordan or I'm trying to convince Calais Campbell to come to Denver to just get even better depth there. And then where I'm really spending money in free agency, I'm getting myself an inside linebacker. And I am going first after Zach Bond. But I'm afraid after the Super Bowl and the pick, plus the great season he was having, plus the pick in the Super Bowl, that he's going to be, I don't know, is he going to be $18 million a year? Like, is he going to be top
expensive.
of the market, especially as a free agent? I'm inquiring about it. And if I can get him for $15 a year, probably doing it. And I'm keeping Alex Singleton. So my inside linebacker room, like you said, Henry, I'm comfortable with, or I'm happy with the way the backups performed last year when they were called on. But now I'm upgrading so much by getting Singleton back. As he told us last week, he's going to be healthy by the time training camp rolls around. And then I'm also getting Zach Bond. If Zach is just too expensive, stays with the Eagles, goes somewhere else, Nick Bolton is my backup. And then also Dre Greenlaw, a guy that is just a beast as well. So I'm getting an inside linebacker in free agency. And if not, maybe I'm calling the Saints, that Sean to Mickey Loomis connection for Willie Gay. He was a guy that was a prize free agent last year that the Saints got, pulled him away from Kansas City. There's an option there. So I'm getting one of those guys in free agency or a trade. And
Willie Gay's actually a free agent.
Oh, is he? That was only a 1 year deal?
1 year, $3 million.
Wow. Okay,
Yep.
well then he's my fourth option there. In free agency, but then you don't even have to trade for him. So
You don't.
I like that, but I'm willing to spend money at inside linebacker this year. The Broncos have never been willing to spend money at inside linebacker outside of players that were already on their team. So I don't know if this is realistic or not. But Sean has had some good inside linebackers in the past. So
All good teams have good linebackers.
as we saw from the Super Bowl.
And the championship games and last year and the year before that, and the year before, like it's just always the case.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to pay it.
Yes.
So that's where I'm spending my money. Safety, Hufanga is probably going to be a lot, right?
You don't know. I mean, he only played a little bit after the injury, and I haven't gone back and seen if he's any good. But you would imagine, it could be anything. It really could be anything.
Well, I'm checking in with him. And if it's
Definitely.
a prove-it deal or something, I'm definitely trying to sign him. Jeremy Chin out there for safety depth. Potentially be that starter. PJ, your backup. They can battle that out. And then, do you guys think I'm crazy potentially having interest in Daniel Jones to be my backup quarterback? This is his Sam Darnold in San Francisco type of year where we're signing him for $2-3 million. He's the backup. He's a veteran. He clearly knows he needs like a year to just kind of take off and learn, get that football rehab, and then potentially have that Sam Darnold year with another team the following season.
Yes.
I'm crazy.
Absolutely.
I would rather have Zach Wilson. I'd start there.
100%.
That's fair.
crazy.
And that was my second.
Yeah.
It was Zach Wilson or Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
But I'm just afraid that Zach Wilson might be coming out of his Sam
possible.
Darnold year wanting $10 million and a chance to start somewhere. So that's what I was assuming for him. But Daniel Jones kind of plays like Bo Nix. Like he is athletic. He's a pocket passer first, but then he's athletic too. So I wouldn't hate it. But again, $2-3 million. If you don't get him, fine. It's no big deal there. So now we're going into the draft. Got my inside linebacker taken care of. Got defensive line depth taken care of.
Tight
and then
end.
I've got my tight end. Yeah, really taken care of. So in the draft, just like Henry, Ashton Genty falls to 20.
Wow.
And I am taking Ashton Genty there. I've got my running back taken care of. I no longer have a second round pick because George Kittle is off the board. And with that third round pick in the draft, I'm taking a big guy in the middle on the defensive line. I'm taking that nose tackle, and to me, that's like fantastic value. You're getting like a first-round player, but because he's a big guy that eats blocks and doesn't really rush the passer, he's there, and so that's how I'm replacing DJ Jones, and that's where I get the money to be able to bring George Kittle in and sign an inside linebacker. So that's my plan.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Good plan.
That's a good plan.
Those were nice compliments, but you want to tear my plan apart?
No. We
Okay.
did that while you were. We did that while you were talking.
Yeah, so I like all of our plans, and clearly we all have a big emphasis. Get a running back.
Yep.
Wait,
tight
who's your
end?
tight end? Oh, you were going tight end second round.
Second round and Hooper.
And Hooper.
Get
Yep.
two.
Yep, you built good depth. So how can we put these together to build the DNVR Broncos dream offseason?
Well, I guess you just kind of take where
Mine.
we aligned
Yeah.
between the three. So you two had Ashton Genty in the first round, so that's probably what we should do.
Yep.
We both had drafting a D tackle either third or fourth round, so
Yep.
Okay.
that's what we
Yep.
should do. Who'd you have as linebacker? Or did you
Bobby.
say? Oh shoot.
Bobby,
You had Bobby.
I had sign a big free agent, and you had
Zach
third round.
Bond.
I
I
mean,
guess
so
Bobby will be a big free agent, so we gotta go.
Yeah, it's true.
the way they structure those contracts, though, if Bobby's a 1-year deal, you'd probably pay less in the first year for Bolton or Bond or one of those. So I'd be down to go that way.
We're just focusing on like the perfect offseason for 2025.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then because
Yeah.
you have more money in the next year and the year after, and you can deal with things then.
And you're really going to have more money because Russell Wilson's deal is
Exactly.
off the books after this year. That's a good point.
Yep.
So who's your favorite between the two? Bond, Bolton, someone else?
I mean, Bond is my favorite out of those, and I might even take Greenlaw over Bolton for as good as.
You guys are asleep. I think Bond is third just because he had a
Okay.
fantastic year, but he had a fantastic year.
That's okay.
Bolton has been balling since he got in
That
the league
is
as a
also
rookie.
true.
Greenlaw has been balling for years. Outside of that horrific injury he suffered in Super Bowl, like he was on a tear.
He was.
So those two would probably be my top over Bond. But
Do you
I do
think-
think Bond is a good linebacker.
Yeah, I think Greenlaw in coverage is why I like him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think? Am I underestimating what Bolton does in coverage?
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I'm happy either way.
Have you ever seen him just get torched?
No,
Yeah. It doesn't happen.
There
He
you go.
usually has pretty good coverage.
he's just like
he's not-
smaller and like boxier, whereas Greenlaw has like the longer. Like he seems rangier, built more
Yeah.
like Singleton.
Yeah, but
I'm
when-
happy either way.
When he's in coverage, I think he does a pretty good job. And they
Okay.
put him in man coverage a little bit. It's not like he just plays zone. So
Man, you're selling me on him because he's going to
No,
be
he-
cheaper than Bond, right?
oh, shoot, maybe.
Teams
Just
love
because
the
he had a
flash.
crazy year,
Yeah,
like,
teams
yeah.
love that and go crazy for that.
Yeah,
Man, but Greenlaw, he might be my one. And I wonder what his deal's going to be because he's been balling out until he got hurt in the Super Bowl. I think played 23 snaps this past year coming back from injury, but it wasn't like he got hurt again. They just really, I think he played in that game where the
guy
linebacker
quit.
walked off the field. Yeah. And so that's when the linebacker walked off. And then when they
Yep.
lost that game, I think they were eliminated from the playoffs. So
Yeah.
then I think they pulled him and said, like, no. Or he pulled himself and just said, like, no, it's not worth it going into free agency to risk an injury again. So I really wonder what his value is, pretty much having an entire year off.
Let's go with Bolton. It's safe. It feels like the Broncos are due to steal somebody from the Chiefs again. Like it used to be back in the day, you had more of that.
Yeah.
Like you had like Romanowski from the Raiders. You had like Neil Smith was a Chief first and then came to the Broncos.
Yep.
I feel like that's how you surpass a team. You take one of their best players and
And we're definitely keeping Singleton, right?
yes,
Singleton and Bolton
Yeah.
are your
Hell of a
inside
unit.
linebackers.
2 tons.
That's really good. 2 tons?
Bolton and
Oh,
Singleton.
wow. Is that like their nickname?
It could be.
2 tons. I like that.
I don't know.
Is there something I'm not getting
tough.
with that?
No,
No,
just
no,
that's a bad
okay.
nickname. But yeah,
I like it.
well, there you go.
Especially inside linebacker, like, you know,
Yeah.
the immovable force, the 2 tons in the middle.
Yeah.
No, Todd doesn't like it. So are we set on defense? Drafting, and I like this too because we're matching veteran inside presence at linebacker
Yep.
with young defensive tackle. Sorry, Henry, but DJ Jones, we're saving the money.
that could go wrong.
No, I didn't think I didn't move on in the safety room, but both of you guys did.
Yeah, I was just trying to add depth.
I added a third rounder.
It wasn't necessarily replacing PJ, because I thought PJ was totally fine last year.
Yep.
But it just feels like there's a vibe out there that the Broncos are going to try to upgrade him. And I don't know if that's what they're going to do, or just feels like they need to add one more piece to that room. Doesn't even have to be a starter, though.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's where, like, Jeremy Chin, you'd probably start him.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's just tough to find one of those guys, which is why I went to the draft. So, like, you get a guy in the third round, you give PJ another year. If something happens, then sure, see what the rookie can do. But then otherwise, you go into the offseason and say either we roll with the rookie or we bring PJ back. I don't know.
What do you think of PJ?
I like PJ. I like his game. He's your box safety. But I think he's a good player, and I don't think he needs to be upgraded. I think, other pieces could be upgraded. I think he's done a good job.
That's the tough part, is that, like, if PJ was playing for the Panthers, you'd be like, yeah, of course PJ's our starter. But playing for the Broncos, it's like, well, Benito, you're not looking to upgrade there. You're not trying to upgrade Cooper. You're not trying to upgrade Zach Allen, or maybe at linebacker you have to add somebody. Pat, you're not upgrading. Brandon, like,
you don't have to upgrade anybody.
You don't have to, but when you look at, like, where could you, like, upgrade, that is, like, the kind of the first guy on the list of, like, starters who will be back, who could just get better. Again, like, I don't think he's holding the Broncos back or anything. I think he's a starting safety in the NFL. He just this year wasn't forcing the turnovers he did the year before, and so you just don't see him as, like, a game changer at this moment. So I'll be very happy for PJ if he is the starter again. And if they replace him, you'll say, like, yeah, you wanted a guy who runs a 4.3 and 6'3" and rangy and hits, like, I'll understand why, but I also feel really bad for PJ because he finally got a starting job and he lived up to what he needed to do.
Man, I even think if they add to that room, they're probably still keeping PJ because he signed a
They'll
two-year,
keep him, yeah.
was a 2-year, $7 million deal, so $3.5 million this year. But yeah, he might be a different role.
Exactly.
Some people in the Twitter chat are calling us out for being too nice there.
How?
Some people are saying that the Broncos do need to upgrade at that safety spot.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the tape. There was a clear difference from when he was in the game to when we were out the game.
That was definitely true.
Let's just be honest about what happened, and not just who from around the league. Like,
Yep.
Well,
you got to see what you saw.
You remember the Baltimore Ravens game?
Come on.
PJ wasn't in there.
Yep.
Very good point. Sometimes you don't know what the grass is always greener on the other side.
Man.
And how differently would people feel if PJ's arm was just 2 inches longer and he'd batted away that pass to the running back against the Bills in the back of the end zone after he covered him for 15 seconds? Like, I think that's what a lot of it comes down to. As if he had just gotten that one finger on that ball, I think people might see him very differently.
And those plays happen, but
Yep.
I mean, that doesn't, like, dictate an entire player season for me. Like, I look at everything, So I think just understanding the entire season and how well he played, and there's other positions of need. Like, honestly,
you need a linebacker.
Honestly, you can upgrade almost every position at any time. If it's not a Hall of Fame player like Pat, technically you can upgrade any position. But that would be dumb to try and do that every offseason.
Yep.
So you got to be able to have solid pieces, and you have a couple pieces that are Hall of Famers. You can't have everybody can't be a Hall of Famer, but they have to be good enough to play.
Yep.
And also, I think you kind of have to view it as, what is that position like? The Broncos, could they upgrade it at center? Sure, they could. But their offensive line as a whole is fantastic. I mean, I think they graded out number 1 in pass blocking and number 1 in run blocking according to ESPN statistics. So you could upgrade because Luke Wattenberg isn't a Hall of Famer. But, like, are you going to? Absolutely not. The safety position, Brandon Jones played out of his mind. He had a season that no one has had from the safety position since Steve Atwater, where it was like 3 interceptions, 100 tackles, and no one's done that since Steve in a Broncos uniform. Hall of Famer. So Brandon and PJ, they're a good safety unit. Are they the best in the NFL? I don't know. Probably not, but they're very, very good. Not just passable, but they're good.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Going back to center, I'd rather they upgrade center than safety. Like, that's one where again, you look at the good teams, you look at the Chiefs, and you look at the Eagles, and like if you get the right guy, that might totally unlock that entire offensive line. Like that might be the kind of thing where you all of a sudden start running for 5 yards per carry because you're just so good cross board. Now, similar to PJ, I don't think Luke Wattenberg played badly. Like, I think he has his strengths and his weaknesses. He's really good in pass protection, but again, just not necessarily a bully up there in the running game. So I don't know. You have to make tough decisions when you're the GM, and I'm not sure what they're going to do. Yeah,
that's fair. And so we do have some people in the Twitter chat saying, well, what if a safety is available at 20? And crazy enough, in that mock roundup that I put together, there's two top mock drafts that have the Broncos taking a safety. One of them is Nick Emenwari.
Yep.
Am I saying that right? Nick Emenwari out of South Carolina. He's like 6'3", 225 pounds, just a massive safety, a playmaker as well. Had 4 interceptions last year. And then another one is Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. Those are the two safeties that mock drafts have the Broncos taking. Is that crazy? Or is that where it's like, man, you're upgrading for a potential like all-pro?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the conversation of if like our top guys are off the board and we have to pick at 20, or you really want to pick at 20, then you pick kind of best player available, and it's probably going to be one of those guys. But if you truly want to fill the void that we have at tight end and running back, you're probably trading back to still get top talent, at those positions.
Yeah.
But if you're stuck there and Genty's gone and Hunter's gone and everybody, everybody who they said would be a first rounder is gone, like, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, man, Hufanga. If you're thinking like you really want to upgrade, I'd probably go Hufanga in free agency as opposed to a first-round safety. But it's possible. People are predicting that is what's going to happen. On the offensive side of the ball, Henry and I both had Genty. So we're going Genty.
Yep.
But can we add Nick Chubb to the mix?
I don't care. That sounds good to me.
Genty and Chubb.
That's a yeah.
What,
it's just like thunder and lightning. That's just a lot of thunder.
How do you say that is a lot of thunder? If you sell that to Nick Chubb, you say like, okay, we want you here. We'll give you $3 million. Also, if Ashton Genty's on the board at 20, we're taking him.
You don't say anything.
Come
here, we love you. We want you.
It's like we really want you, and then you draft Genty, and then he just sends the text like, "What the hell? You just signed me." We're not worried about that.
I don't know.
You ran for 3 yards per carry last year. Of course, we were gonna draft someone.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, God, you
can worry a little about how they feel.
I would want to know as a player, but I don't know if they always like tell players. Like, you just got to come here and get in where you fit in. If they draft somebody, they draft somebody. Now you just got a little more competition. Because if you're the guy anyway, you're still gonna get some playing time.
Also, Sean made it very clear at the end of the season that he wants to load that room with guys. So even if they do draft someone ahead of Chubb, he would still get playing time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Sean also said in that last big team meeting, I can't remember how he said exactly, but basically it was like, hey, this is our group, but like, there's going to be people leaving. There's going to be people coming in, and they might be at your position. You just kind of have to be ready for that. Because that's a weird part about where the Broncos are. It's like you look at the Chiefs and say, like, oh, their tight end is safe. Their running back is safe. The receivers are not safe. Like, when you're up at that level, it becomes so clear, like, who your dudes are and who is on kind of that chopping block or who could be replaced. And then at the bottom of the league, obviously, it's like, yeah, you've got 5 guys locked into starting spots, which means you've got 17 others that are totally up for grabs. You can't be surprised somebody comes in. When you're where the Broncos are, it's kind of tough because they're going to be players who did really, like PJ Locke could be an example. A guy who played really well with his first opportunity is a big reason why the defense took the step it did and the team took the step. And next year you're just like, yep, you're our third safety.
Yeah.
Like we'll try to make some packages for you.
I would venture to say there's no team out there with more than 5 to 7 open spots every year. That seems like a lot.
What about? I mean, we'll pull up the Raiders roster. They're a good example.
Raiders probably have a few, but I mean, you just can't fill that many roles.
What did the Broncos have last year, or I guess 2 years? From Sean's first year to Sean's second year. How many different starters were there?
Well, Russ and the running backs were all there, so it was only McGlinchey, Powers, Court, and the receivers were there. No receivers changed, right? Anybody on defense?
Zach Allen.
Outside Zach Allen, yep.
No, Zach Allen was brought in the first year.
What you mean? He was brought Sean's first year. That's what we're trying to figure out.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay. My bad.
Do you guys want to keep this conversation going?
Yeah, why not?
For a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to, if you're tuning in on OTT, we are going into overtime. The conversation continues online, so make sure to join us on YouTube. If you listen on podcast, you're going to get this whole thing as well. So we don't have a hard out anymore. So, okay, I'm sorry. Continue to put together what you were talking about.
So I think it was those three, and then because Brandon Jones came the next year, and maybe the corner across from Pat was new, whether it was Damari or...
Yeah, it was new.
And then linebackers that year were the same, right? Josie and Singleton.
Yep, that was Singleton. He signed the deal. Yep.
So, and then safeties were the same.
Yep.
It was
Kareem and Justin.
So, I mean, there was like 4 new spots. And then now last year, there was a couple more guys that came into roles, but I don't know if there's like 10 open spots every year.
Yeah, I feel like there might have been more that they could have changed, though. Like, if they wanted to, they probably could have added an edge rusher at that point.
I don't know. I think they would, you would always want to.
Exactly.
But I think you probably can only do 5.
Definitely.
5 or 7 a year.
But you don't necessarily know which ones you'll have a chance to. Or it's like you might say, like, we'd love to add either a tight end or a running back, but realistically we can't. The Broncos, obviously, this year can do both. But, like, looking at the Raiders roster, I'd say, like, they could certainly add safeties. Like, they could use 2 starting safeties. They could use at least 1 starting cornerback and maybe 2. They could use a starting linebacker.
Well, they have a good one good corner, right?
Yes, Ja'Cory Bennett. But they have Jack Jones, and then Nate Hobbs is a free agent.
Okay.
So they could add one. Maybe one upgrade Jack Jones. I haven't watched him much recently. Like defensive line, you've got Jonah Laula starting. Malcolm Kuntz is a free agent. Like, you could probably do something there. Like, there's like a whole list.
They had the big boy from Miami,
Adam Butler.
No.
Christian Wilkins.
No.
Yeah, not the Hurricanes, of course.
Did he get hurt?
He's still there.
Last year?
So you got Christian Wilkins.
He was like
and Max Crosby.
Max Crosby.
And Jonah Laula is your next up. So like you could add one there. And like they also run the 4-3, so you probably want a defensive end too.
So you got 3 defenders.
But you just wind up with like there are probably a dozen places on the roster where they could upgrade and you wouldn't be too surprised, you know?
Yeah, that you just never.
But you can never do that much.
Yeah.
But if you're one of those guys and like it's your position that's chosen, you're like, yeah, I guess. Still hate it.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
So let's wrap up this conversation with looking at, from a Broncos perspective, not how many can they upgrade, but how many new starters will there be from last year to this year?
So
from 2024 to 2025. Yep, running back.
For like opening day starter, like end of season starter.
Just opening
Probably
day
opening
starter.
day. Okay. Yeah.
So like last year, Josh Reynolds started, right?
I think so.
So
receiver.
There's another.
Tight end.
Tight end.
I think that's it. On offense.
Potentially center.
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see who's there. DJ could be replaced. So there's another potential. A defensive tackle.
Do we go
two
with
of those guys, Reynolds and DJ, will probably be replaced by someone who's already on the roster?
True.
So
yeah,
that's fair.
So I would say linebacker, running back, tight end, probably the only 3 that would be like completely new to the team and can completely start.
Linebacker, running back, tight end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brand
if
new
we're saying
to
new to the team,
yeah, new to the team. So then, how many new ones though? Not including that. So we got 4. I don't know. I lost count.
we have the 3 that are new to the team, and then you probably say wide receiver and D tackle as well. So 2 more.
And then outside linebacker, because last season Baron Browning was a starter.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So 3 outside guys.
3 out of 3. Yeah.
Yep. So you have money in free agency to spend. You have draft picks in the first and second round to spend. You should be able to get that. You should be able to knock those out of the park.
Hopefully.
And that's going to do it for us today. You guys knocked it out of the park. Let us know what your perfect free agency plan, draft plan, and trade plan is for the Broncos. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out. We will be back tomorrow. Big show, fun show, 11 a.m. We're going inside linebacker. With our inside linebacker, we're going to break down that whole situation. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.